Winter break is over, 2018 is here, and Inside F&M Wrestling is back alongside head coach Mike Rogers and Antonio Pelusi. I'm Jack Keffer. Thanks for joining us here on GoDiplomats.com. Let's start way back in December. Lots to cover. You guys headed down to Florida for the South Beach Duels, 4 duels in a short time period. How did that work out for you, and how was the experience going down to Florida for the first time?
I think it was really a great experience. It was kind of the first time they had an event down there like that, so we didn't know what to expect. But it was a great environment. We had 2 dual meets in 2 days. So we had 2 dual meets, and then the next day we had 2 dual meets. Great competition. It was kind of nice to get our guys out of your typical, environment. And going down to Florida is always nice in the wintertime. So the guys got to do some other stuff. We hit the beach a little bit, and then also did some different training. We were training at a local high school the day after we got there. Did a RTC training little session when we were down there. So we were able to do more than just the competition we're there. I think wrestling-wise, the teams that we wrestled were pretty tough. We knew that going into it, but I think it was a good experience because we got to wrestle teams like Ryder in North Dakota State and Michigan State, teams we don't normally see too much. We see a lot of the East Coast teams, so it was nice to put our hands on someone different and wrestle a different style of opponent. And I think we did a great job. We're just young, half our lineup are freshmen, and then we have a couple sophomores. So, and even 2 of the freshmen are in there, Brett Cope and Steven Marcadante. They're freshmen. Last year they were injured the whole year. It's not like they had a year to kind of get ready, for this freshman year. So they're learning. The pace of wrestling, I think, is a little bit ahead of their curve, but they're catching up. So yeah, it was a great experience. It was a good time for the team. I think we did some barbecuing and hung out. So it was a little bit of team bonding and doing something different, and come back up north and get ready for our open.
There were some good results from the freshmen this past weekend. We'll get to that a little bit later with Brett Culp and Will Gill in the Drexel dual meet. But first, let's talk about the David Lehman F&M Open. You guys had a lot of success there. The man to your right, well, he just went off. Second place finish. Also, Patty Quinlan, he finished 3rd. A lot of good individual results, and overall, a pretty good weekend. What'd you see?
Yeah, well, I think in terms of just wrestling-wise, our guys did a much better job. Everyone, I think, got a little bit deeper in the tournament than we ever have, and then having 2 place winners, and I think he was the first one that we've had since we've hosted our tournament to actually be in the finals. So, we're still kind of have that carrot in front of us. One of our goals this year was having an F&M Open champ, which we haven't had, which I think also tells you the level of competition that's coming to our event. It's not a JV tournament. It's a pretty tough tournament. So I think the fact that we're still working to get a champ, but to have someone to take 2nd, someone take 3rd, and then we had some other guys fighting through. We had to kind of cut it off with the wrestle-offs with the 6-match limit, so something we're going to adjust next year. But some of the things we did around it I think are really interesting. The tournament itself is growing and growing not only in numbers but in quality. The teams are coming. But we had a business networking event for the underclassmen that are attending the event, which was charged with Aaron Moldoff and Justin Herbert kind of put that together, so that was a nice little addition to it. And then we did a social for Wrestlers in Business and Beat the Streets organization, which is Dave Lehman's very involved in. So it was kind of a nice kind of kickoff for the event. And then we did a youth high school event the next day on a Sunday, which now is growing to 8 teams and continue to grow with some of our alumni coming back with R.P. Norley that was at Penn Ridge and Nate Lauer that's at Melbourne. So there's a lot of F&M alumni that are bringing their teams back to that event. So we're trying to grow that event in a bunch of different ways and adding to it and tweaking it and doing things that are a little bit outside the normal thing that you do with just a wrestling tournament. So it was a great event overall, and I can't say enough about our volunteer helps, our parents with the concession stand. My wife's heavily involved in that, so it's a whole family affair. And then our team mom and everybody that did the hospitality. Just phenomenal. It takes everybody to from setting up the mats to tearing the mats to volunteer help to running the cameras, everything. And then this year was the first time that track streamed every match, so we had a lot of online viewers. So again, it's just growing in popularity and the name's starting to get out there and more people people coming to the Lancaster area to kind of watch the event.
Well, I'm sure lots of people were watching this guy right here in a fantastic tournament at that, Antonio. You finished in second place. That was a tough match at the end there. 4-3, the final decision. Can you walk me through kind of your day on the mat and how you performed, what was working for you, and ultimately that final match?
I was just getting to my stuff, trying to be, it's kind of been the theme of this year. Coach has really been working on me, getting at it early in the matches and trying to pile on the points, and I've been, I've been doing my best to do it. And, I started off the day, I think I had, maybe won by 6, and then I won 2 tight ones. I wish I could have, done better, but the Rutgers kid I had seen him like twice last year, my redshirt year. So, he knew me a little bit, and I would have liked to beat him a little worse. And then a tough match from George Mason. I'll see him again in a couple of weeks in the George Mason duel. And then I had a forfeit in the semis, which is kind of fluky, from the Campbell kid, who's very tough. And then I lost to another national qualifier in the finals, Sweeney from Cornell, real tough kid.
So what else around the Open was beneficial to you? We heard about the business side from Coach Rogers, but what did you take away from that aspect of it?
I just like my favorite part about the F&M Open is that it brings everyone back together. Like, we're like a F&M wrestling family. Everyone's parents are there. There's a ton of alumni that comes back. It's nice to see Dave too. Dave's always popping around, and it's just a real cool environment. Hosting your own tournament. There is like really like a home field advantage to it. You have the hospitality room and stuff. You can hang out. The environment, and it's cool.
You mentioned your redshirt season, and Coach, we should probably touch upon the redshirt guys. They wrestled at the Millersville Open, Patty Quinlan and Anthony Mancini. Good results from them, and they've had strong showings in their redshirt year.
Yeah, I think the future looks really good once we get those two back, and then our younger guys that are here returning with some experience. So yeah, Mancini's doing a great job. Actually, at Midlands, he took the guy who eventually won it, the number 3 seed, into overtime. That's the second time he's done that, and he just, so it shows you that Mancini's right at that level, and he just has to kind of, get over that little hump. But he's taking some of the best guys into overtime, and every time he goes out there, him and Patty are doing really well in the open competition. And one of the things when they're redshirting, we emphasize like work on things you need to improve on, offense and getting off the bottom and riding guys. So they not only redshirting to kind of get all their eligibility in, but also working on specific things for them. When you're redshirting, it's more about you, not the team, because you're not picking up team points. So they're really focused on things that they need to improve on. So they got a handful of events left to try to tweak and focus on, because they're not going to be eligible for the conference or NCAAs. But it does give you a little bit of insight of our future. Throw those two guys back in the lineup with the guys we have returning, with the guy sitting here to my right returning. It looks really promising. Everyone can stay healthy and get the guys in the lineup at the right weights. We could be really strong.
We mentioned the young guys earlier in the video, and we, this past weekend, Drexel and Princeton, the Drexel match, it was a 30-12 loss, but boy, was it hard fought every part of the way. Brett Culp and Will Gill with big results at 141 and 149, and then some tough results in the middle there. Emmett Lacastri, he went head-to-head with a top EIWA wrestler, and although he lost that match, it was really close headed into the third period. I feel like there were a lot of those matches in that Drexel meet against a very talented Dragons lineup.
Yeah, I think Drexel has a lot of talent, and I think one of the mindset things that we went in there with would just go out there and fight and scrap, and I think they came at us and they threw some of their best shots at us, and we took it. Not only did we take it, we kept coming back at them, and you kind of saw their some of their fire and enthusiasm start kind of eroding away. Even 165, we lost that one, but that was in overtime. You throw that one on there. The results, so you look at the overall results, the point score, but if you take match by match, I think we fought. And one thing I told the guys, and this is one thing we focus on, we don't, the results are the results, but we didn't lose on effort. As long as we don't do that, I can take a loss. And if we learned one thing from that dual meet, then it's worth the effort and the time to go in there. So we were really proud of the guys. We didn't lose on effort. We fought, we scrapped, we gave everything we had. I think we surprised ourselves, and some of our guys were almost surprised that they got to some of the things and that's the thing that we have to change. We have to be expected to get to their shots, expected to score, and not be surprised if we get there. So it was a good experience. Princeton wasn't great. I think Princeton did a really good job exploiting our youth was their transition. Takedowns to turns, takedowns to halves, takedowns to – they were 1 or 2 steps ahead of us on their technical side of things, and that's where I think our youth, or a lot of our guys coming out of high school, have some issues with their we call stop wrestling. They kind of wrestle and stop, and Princeton, to their credit, they were transitioning a lot quicker than we were, and we couldn't keep up with that. So that was a great experience for them to kind of see that. It wasn't great to watch it, but it was good to kind of experience it.
One positive that did come out of a Princeton match is Antonio Pelusi. He won his match, and of course, those EIWA wins are huge. Speaking of EIWA matches, we've got 2 this Saturday, Harvard and Brown. Antonio, I know that you have wrestled the Brown heavyweight guy, Ian Butterbrow, and it's been tough matches every time you've seen him. What are you looking forward to this weekend, and how are you preparing for those 2 matches back-to-back on Saturday?
Preparing like I prepare every weekend. Go in, stick my head in there and win the match. It's just kind of been how I've been preparing for every match this season. I really got away from putting a lot of emphasis on who I have and just focusing more on myself and being confident in what I can do and going into matches. I think I've been taken down under 5 times this whole year. So, I'm very confident in my defense and my ability to score, and I just like to go into matches and know I can beat anybody in the country, and just really believe that, and that's what I'm going to plan on doing this weekend too.
Coach, it's the first home duels of the season as well, and it's always fun to have Harvard and Brown come. How's the team look matching up wise against these 2 EIWA foes, and what are you looking forward to this Saturday?
I'm looking forward to not being on the road. It's been a long season. We've been on the road, and it kind of how our schedule fell out is either we had to put all our home matches early and be on the road late, or be on the road early and be home late. So between those 2 options, I preferred to be at home late. So it is nice to kind of be home, first home dual meet in the whole season, which is kind of late in the process. So that's one thing, is just being home, being able to on our own turf, not on the bus in a hotel room and that kind of stuff. But Brown and Harvard are great matches for us. They always bring tough kids. We've seen some of their guys throughout, the tournaments we've been in. So we've hit some of them head to head. We've had some common opponents. I think it's going to be a very competitive match, for both of them. I think there's going to be a lot of tight matches. There could be some toss-ups. We're weighing in multiple guys, and it might become it may just be who we think style-wise match up against what they're going to bring to the table, and it might be a little bit of kind of a chess match between who they put out, because I know they're bringing in multiple guys too. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But we told our guys, everyone be ready to go. The best depends on how things play out. But yeah, we're hopefully we have a good crowd, and people are looking forward to us being home and coming, and kind of kicking off the next series. We're on the road 2 more times, George Mason, and then Penn, but then we're home the rest of the way through. So we're wrapping up our season at home, and hopefully we get a good crowd and get a lot of people out to support us.
Well, Coach, good luck this Saturday. You can catch those duels here on GoDiplomats.com. Thanks for tuning in to Inside F&M Wrestling, and we'll be back next week.